Hi. Integers and subtraction are two things that many folks really struggle with. So, integers meaning positive and negative numbers, and subtraction meaning subtraction. So, when you combine the two together, that makes things really, really difficult for many students and many people in general. So, we're going to do some examples focusing just on integer subtraction today, and hopefully, this helps. There are other ways of thinking about this. I often think about it as a number line or like a thermometer. But this is going to be a way to look at it using positives and negatives as counters and this lovely bucket of putting things in the bucket and then taking things out of the bucket if we need to. So to start with, we're just going to start with positive 6, take away positive 2. When I, if I don't say positive, the numbers are still positive. Uh, if I'm talking about a negative number, I need to talk about negatives. I need to say negative, whatever the number is specifically. So 6 take away 2, which is just generally how we do subtraction and addition, positive numbers. We just say the numbers. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take positive values and I put them in this bucket. So you can see each time I put a new tile in the bucket, my total increases. So right now I have 3 tiles, 3 ones, and we can see that the bucket is telling me that there are 3 in there. So that makes sense. So now at 4, at 5, and now 6. So that's what we start with. We have 6. That's what we have. We want to take away 2. So I'm going to take away 1, 2, and that means that I'm left with 4. 6 take away 2 is 4. Make sense? Yes. Hopefully that is normal. Okay, actually, so what we're going to do now is I'm still going to start with 6, but I'm going to negate this. So I'm going to say it's negative 2. So I'm going to do 6, take away negative 2. And what does that equal? Because this is something that many people struggle with. What happens when we have two negatives right next to each other when we're taking away a negative? So we look in our bucket and we only have positive values. We only have positive tiles. I can't take away 2 negatives because I don't have 2 negatives. So what I'm going to do is if I were to just put in a negative, then that would end up making my number 5. So then I could take out the negative and back to 6. But my original number was 5. So that doesn't work. I can't just do that. But what I can do is if I take a positive and a negative together, they cancel each other off, right? If you add 1 and you take away 1, you're just really adding 0. So if I bring them together, I now have brought in that negative, but I also brought in a positive. And you can see now my bucket number hasn't changed. My value is still 6. I have more tiles, but my value is still 6. There's still only worth 6 because I have a negative that cancels out one of my positives. So I'm going to do that again. So I have positive and a negative together. I'm going to bring them into my bucket because it didn't change my bucket's value. I still have 6. And now I have 2 negatives. I have a negative here and a negative here. I have 2 negatives, so I can take those negatives out. When I take those negatives out, I take away 2 negatives, and I'm left with 8. So 6 take away negative 2 is equal to positive 8. I have 8 positives now in my bucket. That's one way of thinking about when you're subtracting negatives, is that if you don't have any negatives, you need to add in some zeros so you can take away those negatives. All right, so let's try another set of numbers. So let's do 4, take away 7. Okay, so 4 take away 7, so I need to start with 4. So I have 4, and I want to take away 7. So if we look in our bucket, I can't take away 7. I only have 4. So that means I need to, again, bring in some zeros. So 0 pair is often what we call them. So I'm bringing in a 0 pair. And that Okay, I still have a value of 4. My bucket still is worth 4, but I have more. Okay, but I don't have 7 yet, so I still need to take away 7. I need to have positives, so I'm going to add in another 0. And I'm going to add in a third 0. All right, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 positives in my bucket. My value is still 4, so it's still like I'm still starting with 4 as my value, and I want to take away 7, so I'm going to take away 1. Oops, move my bucket. Didn't need to move my bucket. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've taken out my 7 1 tiles, and now I'm left with -3. And that's why it makes sense that when you do 4 take away 7, you're left with -3. Because I had to put in those 0 pairs to bounce it off, so I had enough to take out 7, and that means I'm left with -3. Okay, so then what if I'm going to change my 7 to be -7? Okay, so now what happens? Let's clear our bucket out. Okay, so our bucket, we're going to start with 4. Our question, we're starting with 4. There's 4 in our bucket, and we want to take away -7. Well, do I have any negatives? No, I don't have any negatives, so I can't take any negatives out. So I'm going to bring in my 0 pairs. So there's 1 0 pair. There's another 0 pair. There's a third 0 pair. There's a fourth 0 pair. There's a fifth 0 pair. There's a sixth 0 pair. And there's a seventh 0 pair. Oops. So it looks like that's too much for my bucket. My bucket can't handle it. But, so no, yeah, I can. Okay, I'm still at 4. So now I want to take away 7. So I'm going to take away 1. Oh, it isn't. It's not acknowledging my... I can't deal. My number's too big. It needs to have... I can't have more than 10 ones in my bucket. Okay, so let's change my number. So let's do take away 6. Oops. Okay, so we're going to do 4 take away -6. See if it likes me now. Okay, so I put in a bunch of 0 pairs because I still have a value of 4, but now I have 6s that I can take away. So I take away 6s, or sorry, take away my negatives, right? I want to take away 6 negatives. So I'm taking away 6 negatives, and I'm left with 10. That's why 4 take away -6 is equal to 10. Okay, let's do another one. Okay. Let's do, what if we start with a negative value? What if we have negatives in our bucket? Then what happens? So let's do -5, take away 3. So we're going to start with -5 in our bucket. 3, -3, -4, -5. We're starting with -5, and we want to subtract 3. Well, do we have any positive 3? We don't have any positive 3s. So we need to put in some 0 pairs. All right. So we've put in 0 pairs. We still have -5, but now we have threes, positive 3 to take away. So I can take away 1, take away 2, take away 3, and that is -8. So -5 take away 3 is equal to -8. Okay, but what if we change this to be negative? So we have -5 take away -3. Okay, so let's start with back to -5. Let's get our bucket back to -5. Okay, our bucket's at -5, and we want to take away -3. Okay, well, I have -3 to take away, so I can just take away 1, 2, 3. I can take those away, and I'm left with -2. So -5 take away -3 is equal to -2. Cool. All right, so then let's try one more set of numbers. Okay, let's do a small number. So -1 take away 4. Okay, so we're going to start with our bucket. Oops, didn't mean to do that. In our bucket, we're starting with -1. And we want to take away a +4. Do we have +4? No, we don't. So we're going to put in our 0 pairs. Now I can put in more 0 pairs than I need, but I'm just going to put in enough so that I have 4 to take out. So now I want to take out +4. So I'm going to take out 1, 2, 3, 4. I took out that +4, and so I'm left with in my bucket -5. So -1 take away 4 is -5. And then finally, what if we have -1 take away -4? So we're starting with -1. We want to take away -4. Can I take away -4? No, I can take away -1, but I don't have enough to take away -4. So I need to add in my 0 pairs. If we don't have what we need in the bucket, we're adding a 0 pair. It doesn't matter if we're taking away positives or negatives. If we don't have whatever it is that we need in the bucket, then we have to add in a 0 pair. Okay, so we started with -1. Our value is -1 still. I now have enough to take away -4. So -1, -2, -3, -4. And my value that I'm left with is 3. I end up having 3 positives in my bucket. So that's one way that you can think about integer subtraction. I will link this Mathagon file to this video, so you can go in and you can play with yourself. You can play with the 0 pairs and you can play with the numbers so that you can try out the bucket to see what makes sense with your numbers. Unfortunately, you can only have 10 positives or 10 negatives in the bucket, so you can only deal with small numbers, but it is a good way to start trying these out and just helping this make sense. If you have any questions, please get a hold of me through the usual channels, and thanks so much for joining me. Okay, bye.